And he said, there can only be one sun and there can only be one Khan. Only one. And so he burst out into the Muslim world with no mercy, moving through the lands of Islam and killing everything in sight. And the Mongols, Al-Maghul, had no mercy on anybody who could not stand. If you could stand, then they would have mercy. They'd go around the other way. But if you can't stand against them, they would kill you, take your women slaves, and put your heads in a mountain. And they continued moving through. When they reached Baghdad, the forces of Islam, they said, no, this can never happen to us because we're Muslims. But they came in and they captured the Khalifa. And the astrologer of the Khan said, you can't let the blood of this man go on the ground. There's some kind of superstition. If his blood hits the ground, you're going to be cursed. So what did they do? They put him in a carpet and they rode their horses over him till he died. Wa'iyadu billah. The river Tigris and Euphrates ran red with blood. Then they took our books and they threw it in the river. And a lot of our tafsirs, a lot of our hadith, a lot of things were lost at that time. And the rivers were black with ink from our pens. And the disease that came from over 1 million people killed was reaching even Syria. Then they turned their face toward Egypt, and then they wanted to go to Mecca and Medina. But Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala raised up people coming out of Egypt, Al-Mamluk, Sultan Babis. And they stood in the path of the Mongols and defeated them at Ain Jalut. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gave them victory. But it didn't stop there. This is how Islam goes. It didn't stop there. Then they gave dawah to the Mongols. And they became Muslims. And then later they became the champions of Islam. And they ruled Islam in many parts of Afghanistan and into India. Even great tafsirs, great works were done by them. And so Allah used one group to purify another group. The contradiction was so great, something had to be done, sunnatullah. And so we see ourselves in a similar position. And we need to consider the signs that are around us. We need to spend time reading into our sources. Not just reading the Quran for tilawah alone, but reading it for the meaning. As one of the great scholars of Islam in Morocco, Sidi Ahmed Zarruq, rahimahullah, who said, you want to be sincere to the Quran? Do 3 things. Tahsin tilawatihi, wa tadabbur ayatihi, wa itba' awamirihi. Beautify the recitation with tajweed. Reflect upon the ayah. Think about it. How does it apply to your life? And then follow the commandments. It is not enough just to read the book. We have to now live the book. Also, the signs of the Prophet ﷺ are there. And he has left for us a road map leading us into the signs of the last days and where we are standing now. It is reported today that the average American person, Christian, the average Christian in America believes that Jesus Christ is going to return in the next 20 years. The average Orthodox Jew, when they look toward Philistine and holding the West Bank and Gaza, they are holding onto that territory and maintaining it because they believe that a Messiah is coming. They believe a Messiah is coming. And they're holding on to it. They're looking at the signs of the last days. They make us watch TV. They produce the films for our children to watch. So our children are busy watching Aliens and watching Hollywood heroes But they're looking at the situation on the ground. What is happening? It has reached the point where recently the Pope made a trip to Syria. You remember that? Where did the Pope go? They said he wanted to go along the journey of St. Paul to see where Paul went. But you know what he did also? He went to the Umayyad Mosque. And they say it's the first time that a Pope went to the masjid. Why would a Pope go to the masjid? What is the purpose for him to go to the Umayyad Masjid? He could go anywhere he wanted to. Why? Because in the signs of the last days, it is said that Isa alayhi salam would descend upon the Manara al-Bayda, the white minaret in Damascus. So the Pope is covering all angles. Even though he doesn't believe, he wants to be sure. If that's where he's coming, I want to see what it looks like. So the Pope is studying. He's studying us, you see? He wants to know what we're about. But we ourselves are not putting in the time to know what Rasulullah ﷺ has left for us. Treasures of knowledge, gems of wisdom he has left for us in terms of the signs of the last days. And we should realize that the signs are many. And realize that in terms of the minor signs, that the Prophet ﷺ said even that the scholars say that the minor signs have been completed. And there are many signs that we are seeing in front of us now in the society. We see the disrespect of the young people for the older people. We see wine and intoxicants spread all over the land. We see lying, kadhib, intishar al-kadhib. Lying has become a profession. Turn on CNN, BBC, and then you will see professional liars who can take the truth and make it seem false. And they take what is false and they make it seem true. They distort things and have the ability to distort things. And so the Prophet, peace be upon him, did not speak from himself. He spoke from the revelation. And from amongst the signs that he said, and it's interesting, some of the minor signs. In one sign he said, لا تقوم الساعة حتى تؤكل فاكهة الشام بالمدينة. The last days would not come until the fruit of Syria is eaten in Medina. Now, when the Mufassirin looked at this, they said, well, how can fruit in Syria, how can you eat it in Medina? By the time it reaches Medina, it will go rotten. So they said, maybe it's dried fruit. They couldn't figure it out. And we read this hadith, and then we went to the store in Medina, and we saw oranges and apples from South America. Fruit from Syria, from all over the world, flying into Medina. Sadaqa Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. He also said in a hadith that a Bedouin would talk into his riding whip. You know the iqal. Because this iqal that Bedouins wear, it's not supposed to be a nice design on your head. Right? It's a riding whip. So how could the Bedouin talk into his riding whip? Then we saw one day, going down the street, we looked, and the Bedouin was talking into the walkie-talkie. You know it has a piece that hangs like that. So the Prophet ﷺ, seeing this thing hanging there, maybe would not know what it is. He's talking into it. And so the Prophet, peace be upon him, also said, إِنَّ مِنْ أَشْرَاطِ السَّاعَةِ إِذَا كَانَتْ التَّحِيَّةُ عَلَى الْمَعْرِفَةِ. That people would give their salams to each other عَلَى الْمَعْرِفَةِ, because they know them. Not because it's another Muslim. And you see it sometimes in Salatul Eid. The people are out, thousands of people, and somebody says, Salamu alaikum. He looks at another person, he goes to the next one. Salamu alaikum. He only gives salams to his cousin, or to somebody who looks like him. But the salam is supposed to be for all Muslims, regardless of color, regardless of nationality. It is for all of us to respect and to love each other as brothers, and even closer than our own families. The Prophet, peace be upon him, also spoke about Maut al-Faj'ah. He said that a type of death would come, sudden death.